Good afternoon, Keller ISD. We are so excited to have you with us this afternoon for Kickstart Your Learning. Thank you for spending some time with us learning this afternoon. We are coming to you today on the topic of building relationships with students. And of course, we want those relationships to be amazing and positive. And so we hope you are here to get great ideas about building great relationships with students. On our lineup today, we have a very special guest here to speak to us. We've got Shannon Bryant, who is currently our virtual and blended learning coordinator in the district. Shannon, you want to give a shout out real quick?
Hey y'all, it's good to be here.
We're so thankful she came to share with us. My name is Christy Harold. I'm one of the facilitators for educational technology, and I will be facilitating this afternoon. Aaron Reister is our director of educational technology, and he is working the back end for me, and I so appreciate that always. And we've also got Laura, Misty, Sarah, and Jeremy from educational technology.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
We're thankful that they're here. They're going to be moderating the chat for us today. So if you've got questions or comments, put them in there. They'll be happy to get to you and answer anything you ask. All right, we're going to take care of a little bit of housekeeping before we get started today. You are looking at a picture of what your YouTube channel might look like, or your YouTube screen this afternoon. Hopefully you've got video on the left-hand side, and on the right, you should have a chat window where you're able to chat. If you've never set up a YouTube channel, your chat box might say that you can't chat because you need a YouTube channel. So we'd like to take you through those steps, just a few seconds to do those, and that will give you the ability to engage with us during the learning. So I'm going to go over those really quickly. If your chat window says that you must create a channel to join the chat, I want you to follow these 3 steps. Click your avatar in the top right-hand corner, and then click the button that says Create a Channel. On the next screen, you're going to choose your name and select. And on the last screen, you're going to scroll to the bottom and click Save and Continue. So I'm going to repeat those 3 steps if you're trying to do them and you can't see the video feed right now. You're going to click your avatar in the top right-hand corner and choose Create a Channel. You're going to click the side that says Use Your Name and then the Select button. And last, you're going to click Save and Continue. Now, if it bumps you out of the video feed, all you'll need to do at the top is refresh your screen or return to www.kellerisd.net/kickstart. So take a few seconds to do that. We are going to go over a little bit more housekeeping, so you'll have plenty of time to get that done. All right, if you're participating in the Kickstart for Learning for EQ credit, we'd love for you to note the following. We would really ask that you watch the entire live event. We'd like you to go ahead and start introducing yourself in the chat window. Let us know who's here. We always love hearing from all over the district and seeing who's watching. If you will submit at least one comment or question during the event, we're going to try to engage with you multiple times. And so we want you to join us in that. And so if you'll answer our questions, we would love that. And then at the end of our session, we'll give you a link to a Google form that you'll fill out for your EQ credit. So wait for the end for that. We promise it will be worth it. We also want to let you know that all of our past Kickstart Your Learning events live on the same YouTube channel, and you use the same link to get to them that you used today to get to this live event. So that's www.kellerisd.net/kickstart to get to all of our past events. In addition, for the 2 years prior, we took all of our Kickstart events and put them into a Canvas class. So if you're needing EQ credit and are interested in getting it that way, please reach out to us. We're happy to put you in that Canvas class and let you do some asynchronous learning and earn that EQ credit that you might need for this year. Okay, our event this afternoon is building relationships with students. Shannon approached us and said she would love to speak on this topic. And we said, absolutely, this is such an important topic. Teachers, you are just really in for a treat this afternoon with Shannon. Just this summer, Shannon transitioned from coordinator of secondary math to virtual and blended learning coordinator, but her true title could really be teacher extraordinaire. She's very passionate about helping teachers teach to their best potential. I've always loved any training I've been in with her. She's got a practical and witty way for making sense of the hard stuff, and all while making you belly laugh at the same time. I always leave her trainings feeling like my burdens are lighter and I can do what I need to do in the classroom or in my job or anywhere. Um, this topic, building student relationships, it can be hard in a normal classroom. So just add a pandemic on top of that, and that's a whole nother layer of getting to know your students and really knowing them as an individual and them knowing that you know them. And you know, as teachers, that that's the magic that makes learning happen. So as we get started, I would like for you to give us a phrase in the chat about how you feel about your student relationships this school year. So if you need a little more explanation to your phrase, that's fine. Like maybe I'm remote and my relationships are pitiful, and that's okay. We know that some of this is very hard. Some of you are still rocking it out of the park with relationships, and that's great. Let us know, but let us know how your relationships are going. And as we do that, Shannon's transitioned and taken over the screen, and we're going to let her fly with this great training. Thanks, Shannon.
You're welcome. I'm excited to hear what you have to say. So I'm going to give you some time to put that in there. I'll tell you a little bit about my new role. Part of it was we had some needs throughout the district, so I took on some math classes. I'm actually teaching AP Statistics. I teach that first period, 8th period, and 7th period. And there's very small classes though, and that's going to be important to this because you need to know the perspective of the person that's talking to you, right? Then I have a geometry class that's huge. It's got about 40 kids in it, and that's second period. So those are some very different perspectives. I don't do co-seating. I'm not doing face-to-face, but it's really shaped how I'm looking at teaching right now. Do we have any that we want to share from the comments? Not yet, but that's okay. So there's some things you need to know about me. One is that I have a very specific goal for my year. I want to become a YouTube influencer. So I've asked Erin Reister to share some things down below in the description area. You're going to see a link to my YouTube channel. Not now, but later on, go back, check it out. Make sure you subscribe and like. And when I'm out there in famous YouTube land, I will not forget you, Keller ISD, I promise. Okay, this is a really cool topic. I told you my perspective. I was worried about this. And even after all that I went through this summer, a lot of you know, this summer I did the Avid DXP that they always have. And I was so worried I wouldn't come out connected with the participants that were in my group. And I was amazed by how I still had that warm and fuzzy feeling. This took a whole different shift when you start talking about kids, though. This is something that not only they need right now, but I've noticed I needed. I really needed to remember the reason that I was in this job, just like anybody right now that's going through this pandemic. And the connection that I've had with students has done that for me. Now, please, anything I share with you, well, first of all, it doesn't matter if you tell. I heard we're being recorded right now, so it's going to get out there. But know that I have gone through a lot of bumps. I've done a lot of things wrong. I've dropped a lot of important balls in the air. It doesn't matter. It's about how we're learning, how we're moving forward, and what are we doing to make things better every single day. But for me, it's filling my bucket. It's filling a need that I had. So yeah, our kids need to build relationships with teachers. We know that the teachers they've connected with, they tend to do better in those classes. But now it's so important on a whole different level. And we need to remember, and I hope throughout this next half hour, you'll remember and think about the relationships and how you're going to move those forward or keep those strong. It's hard. Okay. These are the 3 topics I'm going to use for today. Now, Nearpod, yes, if any of you know me, you know that I love it. But remember, you could use any tool. It's just the tool that I'm using. And one reason you might want to consider it is that if you're in Keller, we bought you the upgrade. Okay. So it's worth checking out. But you can do the same thing with other tech tools. All right. And I'll talk about how. We're going to look at questions. We're going to look at teaching an entire lesson with only questions. You can do it. And then how to use my comments and that interaction with students to help build the relationships. Here's the issue. You don't have time to stop, drop, and team build. You don't have time to come up with a separate individual lesson for building relationships. We've got gaps that we're trying to fill, and kids were trying to catch up. Kids were trying to get to come to the screen half the time, right? Ooh, amen. It's like I went to church for just a little bit. I'm so sorry. I got a little worked up. So that's huge. I'm talking about doing this within the context of what you're teaching already. All right. So we're not talking about a separate lesson. This is in your normal teaching. All right. Now, I want to ask you a question before we go any further. Of the 3, what are you most excited to learn about? Put that down in the comments. Okay. So with Nearpod, it's not about the tool. It's about the fact that I want to be able to look at all of my students' work and see what they're doing in real time. That has given me back so much time. So if I have a whole lesson built on questions and all I'm seeing is all of my students on one screen responding to those questions, that's great for just feedback. That's great for being able to fill in misconceptions. Oh, and I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, what if 50% or 60% of those boards stay blank? It's not like I can go up to that kid and talk to him. So I had the issue and I sent home an email to the parents. I had all the parents blind copied in the email and all the students blind copied in the email. And I just said, hey, this is what we're doing in class. I'm so excited to be here. I have really enjoyed these new students. And I also wanted to let you know that we would be using Nearpod. Now, I use it almost every day. I have tutorials to help you and your students out, blah, 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 blah. By the way, parent, there is a great feature in Nearpod. I can send you a report that shows exactly what your child did all day long in class. And that way you'll know how you can support them at home. If you want that report, just email me and let me know. I got one parent that asked for it, one young man that came to tutorials with me, and we got to do all the Nearpods he'd missed together. It was a delightful time. But I had 100% of kids participating the next day. And anybody that couldn't participate, I just said, I want you to follow along on notebook paper, take a screenshot of that and send it to me through email when you're done, because I want to make sure you have the same experience as everybody else. I know, I'm kind of slick. I thought I had lost it. They put you back. She's back in again. Sorry, a little excited there. Okay.
I love that, Shannon. I love how you kept them accountable that way. It's amazing what engaging our parents can do. And we did have a comment about engaging parents that it's hard. And you're not discounting that it's hard. It is. And you'll have parents that won't reach back out to you. But if you're making the effort, and you might catch that parent that that will say, oh, you'll be in that class on that Nearpod. And that will begin to build that positive relationship.
Well, it's amazing, you know, that we're starting to do all the teacher things we did before. We anticipated how they were going to try to get out of something, or when it got difficult, what they're going to do. It's the same thing with technology. And really, you have more documentation to do that in technology than anywhere else. You have more ability to hold your students accountable than you really realize. You have to be willing to sit down and figure out what that tech can do for you, no matter what platform you're using. Here's the other issue though, and this really did help me. I had a principal a while back that came to my classroom and said, I want you to try teaching the whole lesson with only questions. And I just, challenge on, dare me, I'll do it. So I tried it. And what I realized is when you tell somebody something, they don't have to do anything with that information. But when you ask a question, they have to think. And that's really our big job in education, is to get kids to think. So when I changed my teaching structure and started only teaching with questions, my engagement improved. And when you look at remote learning, the biggest issue is, how do you engage them? They're far away from me. I'm going to have to do that in order to build relationships with them. I don't have time to make it separate, so I do that about my content. That means that I've got a structure so that they're always having something to do. I had a kid, didn't know he was muted. This just happened yesterday. Didn't know he wasn't muted. He was talking to somebody else in his house, and he said, yeah, I can't just turn this one on and go. She makes us do stuff. And I thought, yes, yes, I make you do stuff. I can even grade that assignment while they're going, but I have to structure my lesson with only questions, because if you're sitting there lecturing, you're not being able to fill a board to know what they're thinking and doing. So I have a whole nother video that breaks this down much deeper. I'm just going to give you the highlights right now. I'll be quiet and just give you a second to review what's on the screen. All right, I know nobody out there's teaching cake baking, but I figured this was something we could all kind of think about. I am not a cooker, so this was a great thing for me. See, you don't even call them cookers. It's like baker or chef or something like that. It's not me. So I decided my TEAC, my objective, was going to be, can you make a wedding cake? Well, in a classroom, I would say the assessment would be, go make a wedding cake, right? So digitally, I have two options. I could do Flipgrid and have them record themselves baking a wedding cake, or explain. This either means you're going to have to read or listen to students when they record their audio. What's great about doing it while they're in class is you don't have a separate assignment that you have to do outside of class for your own self. Okay, that is my good question for the TEAC. But before that, before they can make a wedding cake, what are you going to give them to do? Well, in this case, it's easier. I'll do a sheet cake. But before that, what are you going to have them do? Oh, well, they've got to understand a recipe. You can do this with any standard that you have. It doesn't matter what you're teaching. But what I've done is built in and designed my own scaffolding. So my questions could even be broken down more than that. Where's the best place to get the recipe? How do you use the ingredients to measure? But each question should build to the next. Okay, again, I told you I have a video that gets into it much deeper. It's down below in the descriptions. I want you to put something in the chat, something in the comments about how do you use questions in your class, or what are you going to try? I'll give you some time to do that. Anything to share?
Not yet.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, but they were excited to hear about Nearpod today and how you were using that. They mentioned the difficulty with co-seating, having to be behind that desk and still maintaining those same relationships.
I'm glad somebody said it. This is why I probably should write things down. I don't do that. I just come in, oh, what you see is what you get. I'm glad somebody asked, though, because another thing that I've done is I am approaching teaching like a blended model, and this can help you with co-seating. I have a whole video on this, too, and it's on my YouTube channel. Didn't even plan that. Come on, make me an influencer. All right. So what was I talking about? I'm talking about something about, oh,
How it's
co-seating,
difficult.
co-seating.
Yeah.
So first and eighth period, well, at a high school, first and eighth period meet for 45 minutes every day. So my blended approach is that I just see those kids Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I give them assignment to do on their own on Tuesday and Thursday, and they can come into the Zoom if they need questions. It's almost like a built-in tutorial time. That has saved me and allowed me to focus on my other job during the day. So how you can apply that to co-seating, you take your remote kids and you meet with them maybe on your even days. And then your kids that are face-to-face, they will know on my odd days, I'm going to give you my full attention. But on the even days, you're going to do independent practice and record your questions. And I'm going to come by at this time and answer them. Now, I have a whole video on this, and it talks to you about how to use Nearpod so that you're not making separate lessons for both group of kids too. But you can check that out in the channel.
I love that. I can't wait to check that out.
It's going to be exciting. Okay, let's go to the next thing. Sorry, I might run out of time if I don't.
Before you go there, and someone was saying they use questions for writing prompt preparation, which I think is amazing because it gets that activates that prior knowledge. And
yes, and I know I really don't work for Nearpod, but just so you know, you can use the open question tool in Nearpod and put that prompt. The kids can type in their answers or they can record it. You get to decide if you want to let them have that feature. Carry on, sorry.
Neat. And then somebody else said they have students explain steps to solve equations or do a process. So almost like answering those questions. Somebody uses the Seesaw Recording feature to have their students explain their thoughts, and that works for all subject areas. And that is so true. Thank you guys for sharing those in the chat.
That is really good.
Oh, we just had another really good one pop up, Jamboard and questions.
Oh, if you have not checked out Jamboard, I had heard about it for years, but I didn't ever use it until this year. I am in love. It is so wonderful. Google Jamboard, check it out. It is really cool. And you got to make sure that you really check it out, though, because kids can take over the pen and things like that. You got to really teach about some good behavior with technology there.
And since we're talking about Nearpod has some of those same great features.
Yes.
In a little bit more of a controlled environment, would you say?
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. But what I did with Jamboard was, and I've done this with now Flippity, because I learned about Flippity too. I took the Jamboard and then I put it in as a web link. So it was still in my lesson of Nearpod. So we did some other things before and after that. But it really worked well. My daughter is writing all kinds of lessons with Jamboard. She loves it. It's a good one to check out. Now, you're probably sitting there going, I get student engagement, but where's the relationship building coming in? Those are just it's the setup to be able to use comments to help build your relationship with your kids. Okay. It was amazing to me. Again, I have a whole nother video on this. You actually get to see me doing this with my students. It's live. But I'll tell you what's happening. the specific praise about showing a student's work and talking through, this is why I love this problem. I pulled this one up. I like the way she's showing her work here. Maybe you need to take a second to write down a couple of sentences about what you see or a question that you have for the student. Those things engage the discussion in your class, even if all you're doing is reading and you are providing the commentary, right? And then kids are able to build their own comfort zone about unmuting and talking. Correct misconceptions. That doesn't sound like a relationship building thing, but when you see several different kids making the same mistake or having the same concern, you can almost take the stigma of being wrong out of it by saying, hey, several of us are doing this, so maybe I didn't explain it very well. Giving them that out keeps them in it to win it throughout the lesson. Being able to highlight exemplars as they're happening. One of my lessons, I think it's even the one in the video, I'm talking about, I see a kid had written, I don't know on his board because I started telling him, you can't have a blank board. You have to do something. Maybe you write a really big question about the problem that I've given you. You don't know the answer, but you can come up with a high level question. Maybe a question starts with how, why, or what if. That's what I was looking for. Now he wrote on his board, IDK. But I'm not going to shoot him down for that. I said, I'm so glad someone said they didn't know because I need to give you a little bit of help with that. So I picked another board that had step 1, 2 on it. Step 1 was done correctly. And I asked that student, will you just submit your board? I want to share it. It's really good. So then I showed it and I said, see what she's done here. Can you explain that on your board? Well, all the kids were like, oh my goodness, it's not just me. But I was able to do that with another student's work. It didn't just have to be me. Well, what if those kids aren't putting any of the right work down for me to show? Sometimes your favorite mistake is the best one to show. You can hide student's name and show that wrong problem to say, you know why this is my favorite mistake? Because they did this part and this part right, or because this is a common error that a lot of people make, and here's how I remember, or here's how I could show this. It's a way to know what kind of hints to give when. But that positivity can affect you leaving and still and feel like you had a good day, or it can affect your kids. There are 2 reasons why kids get on the Zoom and do what they're supposed to do. They're either afraid of failing, afraid of disappointing somebody, or they're ready to succeed. What you win them with is what you will win them to. So if you scare them to death to love your subject, they will always have that feeling of fear associated with your subject. But if you flip it, if you make it a positive experience, I'm not saying that you don't ever correct anybody, but even the way that I did that, calling home, emailing and saying, hey, I just want to share this report with you so you know what good things your kids are doing in class. It's still positive and it's still true. There's just another bonus in there. Brain development. I love to throw out little tips about brain development while students are working. Here's one of my favorite. I love the way you're using color in your description. Did you know that color is one of your 5 senses, and our 5 senses make memory? All of a sudden, every board's using color. I'm talking about seniors, people. Kids will do that. It's not something they're falling for. It's something they need. Brain development, another thing I'll say, okay, so Joe Bowler has this great research on brain development and making mistakes. Okay. So making mistakes, and it's really learning from those mistakes, learning what you did wrong, makes the neurons grow in our brain at a faster rate. Okay. That's brain development. Things like that you say to a kid in the heat of battle when they're making the mistakes really means something. So I started calling it a swing and a miss. And I'd say, because a swing and a miss in math is a good thing. Swing and a miss in other places, maybe not. But in learning, a swing and a miss is a good thing because you learn why you missed and you'll remember it more. That's science, brain development. I didn't make that up. Fun facts. You can even throw out things like if somebody can put an appropriate meme on their board after their work that makes me laugh. We don't have homework today. I don't know, whatever. But having that little fun in there and then being able to pull it back, because the problem is balance. Teachers who throw those jokes out and then get wrapped up in them until, oh my goodness, the class left. It's an art to be able to, I'm going to throw out a little and then, okay, now we're going to do this and get them back in there. Those are all ways in real time you can build some good relationships. Any final questions?
I don't think we have any questions out there right now, but I loved what you shared about brain development and fun, because I think that is so true in the classroom.
Yeah.
Giving them just that little bit of fun every day makes you more human. It endears them to you. It just makes teaching and learning so much better.
And you feel good. I feel good when that happens, as opposed to having to chew everybody out and feel bad, And then kids are coming to your class because they want to be there. They want to be around that. If kids want to come and do math, okay, something I'm doing is working because then nobody wanted to go do math, or at least a small group of us.
That is definitely true.
Well, I just want to say, because I'm going to, please help me be an influencer. Go to my YouTube channel, check it out. My videos are nowhere near this team because they are amazing, but I'm working on it. All right. Come on over and subscribe and like. Do it, do it, do it. Okay, that I won't do anymore. I'll give you back the control now.
Oh, teachers, I hope you take a second to subscribe to Shannon's YouTube channel. You won't be sorry. Again, she trains with the most amazing humor and love built into it. You just makes you leave feeling better about yourself as a teacher. So before we end tonight, you guys throw some love in the chat for Shannon. Thank her for everything she shared. Before we leave, I want to share some EdTech resources with you from our department. If you didn't know, we have a website where we house all of our Keller ISD how-tos for educational technology. It is the KIC website. It's at www.kellerisd.net/KIC. And we have it sorted out by topic. We've got buttons on the front page. So if you need a little extra help with Nearpod, like Shannon mentioned often tonight, which is an amazing resource, you're going to find that button on the front page, and we're going to have a how-to slides presentation for you, some FAQ questions, and then links out to what we think are greater resources. In addition, I think Shannon's linked to the Nearpod Vimeo library, which is an amazing Nearpod how-to. You won't need anything else after you go there. The other resource I want to mention to you is on K-Cloud. And there is a tile on your K-Cloud that's our department. It's #EdTechKISD. And under that tile, you're just going to be taken to a quick little page where there are links to other ways we get help out in the district. One is our blog. We write a weekly blog. So if you would like to subscribe to it, you put your email address in the subscribe bar, and once a week you'll get a quick blog post from us. It's usually quick tips or tricks or maybe even changes that might be happening in district educational technology. So there's one's going to post tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., so look for it. We also push out quite a bit of content on our Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube pages. We try to do very quick tips for ed tech on Twitter almost daily. Facebook, we do a little less often, but always things that you could quickly take as a teacher and either use or kind of file away to do a little more research on. But look at all three of those. They are great. And then we really want you to know about some support we've been working on all fall called Remote Instruction Parent Support. And really, it's just good parent support for these times where we are one-to-one with devices and all of our students are having a device to use. We've got some parent support in place for those parents trying to help those remote students at home, such as iPads for elementary, Chromebooks for our upper level, how to get to K-Cloud, how to get to certain apps. So check that out if your parents are struggling and need help. All right, we are coming back at you on December 2nd with a Kickstart on Learning A to Z. This is a kindergarten through 6th grade platform, so I want to let you know that now. Pre-K in our district also uses it as well, but it is a reading platform that our students in Keller ISD have access to, and so it will be a great kind of overall explanation of what it is and how to use it best as a teacher in the classroom. And what you might have been waiting for if you were here for EQ, this is our link for the form for EQ credit. If you could snap a picture of that, the girls and Jeremy will also be putting it in the chat for you to do a direct click on. And if you need credit, if you'll go ahead and get that filled out soon, within the next 48 hours, we'd appreciate it. I will have your class in Strive and your credit granted by around Friday afternoon. Before we sign off, I want to thank Shannon for being with us today. Thank you, Shannon, for your warm and witty style in making all things hard seem super easy and giving us practical ways to do things like build better student relationships in the middle of a pandemic. And teachers, I want to thank you for being here. We appreciate your time on a Wednesday afternoon, and we are grateful for it. So have a great evening, Keller ISD, and we'll see